Good morning again.
Good morning.
So last time we were talking about consciousness beginning to present itself and labels and how we label things. And when you call it an X, it's an X. It doesn't have room to be a Y. And so one of the additional things that humanity has is we've been playing in this game of kind of 3D, the life that we've lived. And in that construct, there's rules and structures to the game, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do things. And so we kind of accept patterning, accept this is what I'm supposed to do. And in Mastering Alchemy, we've been talking a lot about beginning to step out of some of that third D limitations, like linear time being, that's how it is, there's no other choice, when in fact there's 4 other choices to present time. But one of the pieces now for particularly Mastering Alchemy people is, what are the constructs that limit my belief system in this 3D reality? Whether it's my religion, my culture, my ethnicity, my education, my neighborhood that I grew up in. We wind up creating stories for ourselves. And one of the stories I want to talk about here is the limitation of what humanity basically says, or many people in humanity are saying, well, I'm a spiritual being pursuing spirituality. My belief is it's about spirituality, and we label it spirituality. Now, I'm not selling anything. I'm just going to bring awareness to it.
As spirituality or spiritual being a label, and a label that is just as limiting as any other label that we hang on to. Is that what you're meaning?
Well, that's where I'm kind of going.
So this thing happened sometimes after dance class. I hang out with the women that dance. And this one was telling a story, and she said, well, I'm a spiritual person. And she went on with her story, and I waited, and I said, well, what does that mean? I hear that word a lot. What does spiritual mean?
Yeah.
And she stumbled and bumbled, and all she could explain it was that she's not religious.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she was something. It was that she was not something.
Right. Right.
Which I thought was really interesting. And then, of course, I started thinking, well, how would I describe that word?
Yeah. So this is perfect. So what happens is, I'm not that.
Yeah.
And I'm at this, but there is no definition for this for a lot of people. Okay. So now be really clear, we're not making religion good, bad, we're not taking anything on. What we're really talking about here is the box that we live our life in is very limiting, and yet we don't even question. There's a lot of unconscious aspects of life that we just accept as a label, without going into it again. So pretty much everybody accepts time is past, present, future, and then you die.
Right.
And that's all there is to it, until you get into present time and you begin to recognize other choices. Topic for another day. But this space where we've been talking about the rules and the constructs of this third dimensional game. So time, duality, conditionality, and one of them is spirituality. I'm a spiritual person pursuing this definition of what I think heaven, creator, etc. is. Now, this is a concept. Let's present this as a concept, not a truth. Just simply, that's interesting, is all I'm interested in people walking away with here. But this aspect of, what does spiritual mean? What does religion teach you about all that is, God, creator? And one of the things that happens, heaven. So where is heaven? Well, heaven is a place I go after I die.
And it's up.
Oh, and it's always up. But heaven is a place outside of my box.
I can't experience heaven in this body.
Correct. And the only way I'm going to experience heaven is if I die.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you that's not correct. But without getting deep into that subject, you really don't have to die to experience heaven. No. Concept. That's all that is. But this definition of how we see all that is, Creator, God, whatever the label that we put on it, is restricted. We basically believe this is what happens, and in that case of the word spirituality or spiritualism or spiritual pursuit of a higher source, it's after we die. And so the limitation is like nobody challenges death. It's like absolute, everybody dies. Well, absolutely, the body ceases to exist. But as long as you and the body are the same thing in that perception of spirituality going to heaven or a higher place, it's a limitation. So where I'm wanting to kind of begin to propose, what if you are a aspect of consciousness, an aspect of all that is, an aspect of Creator, whatever that is, without a label? I'm having as Descartes said in the 1700s, you're a spiritual being having a human experience, not a human being having a spiritual experience. And so, but we don't really, we can repeat that over and over, but it doesn't really register. It's like, well, no, I'm here, I'm a human, I'm having this experience, and I'm pursuing spirituality. As long as you're pursuing spirituality, a belief system, it's out in front of you.
It's not in here.
No, it's not in here. Well, it can be in here, but it's a belief that to a great extent, it's outside of me, outside. So if you can begin to recognize that time is not fixed in the third dimensional, as it's presented in 3D, you have choices. Conditionality is something that you get to play in an unconditional way, no conditions. You begin to find duality, right, wrong, good, bad. There are third and fourth choices to right, wrong, or good, or bad. Once you start playing in the bigger scope, outside the limitations, one of the pieces that is going to allow this grasping of consciousness, presenting aspects of itself to humanity in the form of intelligence, knowledge, and wisdom. We're all of a sudden going to have awareness. Oh, I knew that. Oh, I thought about that once before. Oh, I considered that once before. When in fact, you probably didn't. It just simply now is an awareness. You begin to be conscious of aspects of consciousness, all that is, Creator, Source, that had not been in your view until now. And so when you can get rid of this one, or consider shaping it however you wish, but if you can begin to allow spirituality to be a smaller label, and the sense of pursuing consciousness as it's still a label, but a bigger opportunity for awareness to come to you.
So spirituality would be an aspect of consciousness.
It is, and it fits into the box of the 3D game. So we all come play on this game board, and we have limitations. We don't remember Creator, we don't remember ourselves, we don't remember the aspects of soul and who we are. We don't remember all those things purposely because we came to play this game on the 3D game board. The game is over. And so as you begin to let go of the restrictions, the labels, the limitations, it's as if, again, that day is dawning and the light's just starting to get brighter and brighter and brighter, and you begin to remember. And that's the space. But this one label, spirituality, as simple as it's sounding, has lots of configurations that say this is the truth. We're not talking truth, we're talking restrictions, limitations, something that I believe that works really well for me. And if I take a breath and I allow it to simply not be bound, it expands into something that's going to be pretty amazing. So this isn't a get rid of this, or you've been wrong about that, or gee, this is the new answer. None of that. It's just simply what we hold on to here is a limitation to begin to be aware of this. That's it. Very simple. But if you allow yourself to simply begin to shift into consciousness, something that's much bigger without a label, although we're calling it that for a frame, just for an anchor point, we'll begin to talk about what is consciousness. Aspects of consciousness. In 3D, we call things Christ consciousness, Holy Spirit, I am presence, numbers of labels. But where we're going is an interaction as an awareness in consciousness with that 3D label.
So I'm wondering, to become more aware of the labels that we use in our daily walking around space, the more we're aware of those labels, the more likely we will be able to move out of them and move into that greater consciousness. So if I see a bubble, and inside the bubble is many other little bubbles, if I'm aware of which bubble I'm in, just the act of being aware kind of pops it, and I'm in the greater, bigger bubble.
Yes.
So by simply being aware of the labels that I currently have, just walking around, is a step toward greater awareness, consciousness, and moving away from the limitations of that label and any labels that I have.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's simpler. It's similar. Like you go to grammar school, then you go to junior high, then you go to high school, and then in high school everybody's kind of bonded in a line, and then you go off to college in different places, and everybody's sad and doesn't want to do it, and I'm going to leave what I know, and then all of a sudden you go to college and it's like kaboom.
Right.
And so that's what's happening right here, is this very expanded state of awareness, and it's in a state that I'm going to call a renaissance. Renaissance being massive expansion in presentation of things that never were even conceived of.
It was new art and new music and new
New everything. This is the time that we are in. And so the labels are in the way. Now, this is going to get much bigger than that as we go on. We'll do a couple more sessions possibly on this. But it's not so much about technology. It's not so much about even these labels. We're at the beginning stage of stepping into something. What we're stepping into is going to be more fluid and it's looser. It's going to have less sluggishness to it. It's simply, you're going to begin to both say and know, I'd like the apple to appear. And there's no doubt that the apple's going to appear. Now, right here, there's a doubt. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. You know, I've heard him say this for a long time. But where we're stepping into, it's what happens in this space. So again, it's a concept. We're dealing with concepts here, just considerations. Like, interesting thought. Maybe I'll think about it, maybe I won't. We're just planting seeds that begin to take root. And where this goes is this ability for you to just simply at some point say, I'd like to know about this, and the answer is fully conscious to you. Now, there's a space between here and there, and an enormous story between here and there. And when you get to that place, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe years from now, but it's coming pretty quick. We'll talk about that again in another piece here.
Good.
Have a good day.